So here's a confession. I didn't like this show as much as how everyone else did. I'm looking at IMDb, I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes. Both these websites show that a lot of people loved it, and I might be one of the minorities who liked it but just didn't like it as much as everyone else did. And here's the reason why. Maybe I'm not a very Guy Ritchie person, because the only Guy Ritchie films I've seen are his Sherlock Holmes movies starring Robert Downey Jr., which both I loved. I loved both of those. I even liked the second film, A Game of Shadows, more than many other people did. And here's another thing, I didn't watch The Gentleman movie before watching this show, so that could be my kind of thing, because I heard that the movie and the show are connected somehow. I just don't know how, so that could be my problem. But here's the thing, even if they are connected, I should have at least liked this show to a certain extent that I was hoping for, but I didn't. I really didn't. I really wanted to like this show, but I really didn't. So let's get straight to the review. So here's a quick plot synopsis. Edward is being called back from the army to his house because he's supposed to inherit his father's business. His father was the duke, but now he's passing away, so now Edward is the new duke of the house. So he inherits even his illegal businesses and other businesses as well. And his brother Freddie is very troublesome because Freddie was supposed to be the duke of the house since he's the older brother, but he's very problematic brother. So that's probably why the father never went for him in the first place, because he's so problematic and so annoying as a character. And I think that's what they were going for, to make him annoying. And it worked out very well. Edward now has a lot of problems. Firstly, he needs to deal with all the problems that Freddie has caused in the past, especially with the gospel guys, the ones who are always praying to Jesus in the church. And another problem he has to deal with is the criminal underworld right under his house who are selling weeds. Like, he wants to get rid of this place so that he can protect his family. That's the best way he believes to protect his family. Now, but the person in charge of the criminal underworld, Susie Glass, and her father do not want to leave the place. So that's causing a lot of problems for Edward as well. So let's start with what I did not like about the show. The villains were so underutilized in the show. Both the gospel as well as Giancarlo Esposito, Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad. So underutilized. I think they were... Okay, here's the thing. They were trying to play Gustavo Fring's character, Giancarlo Esposito, into this really smart character who likes to outsmart the people he's up against. But, okay, here's a quick spoiler alert. He loses so easily at the end. Like, it's so anticlimactic. Like, he didn't pose much of a threat to the main characters, to Edward at all. Like, what? So, he had so much potential, his character. But then again, he was just so underutilized that it makes me so frustrated. His character has so much potential. He deserved better. Now let's get to the gospel guys. They had so little runtime in the show. And during the entire short runtime they had, they didn't have much to do. Like, they didn't cause much of a problem at all to Edward and his family. Like, why? What? They were so underutilized. The villains were so underutilized. I'm so disappointed. Next, the story. The overall story is so jumbled up. There's so much going on. It's messy and it's so jumbled up, and I'm so fucking disappointed. Like, so disappointed. Like, I feel like they could have removed certain things out of the story and just kept some of the other things, and that could have made it much better, because the story would have been much more streamlined, and it wouldn't have all these pacing issues that I encountered with the show. There were so many cool things, don't get me wrong, but it just felt too much cool things. That the show sometimes goes out of hand and some of the things become unnecessary. Speaking of unnecessary, there were some unnecessary characters, like, other than the gospel guys, the sister, Edward's sister, whose name I've forgotten. Why is she even in the show? Like, we saw in the first episode, and in somewhere in the beginning, like halfway through the first episode, she leaves to college or university or something, and then she returns back in episode 6. And from episode 6 all the way to the end, she had nothing much to do at all. She had so little screen time and she had nothing much to do. And Freddie, I liked him better when he's just this character that we all get to hate. Like, he's this hateable character. I just liked him better that way. By the end, they are trying to create this kind of redemption kind of thing for him, and it just felt just so unnecessary. Like, that ruined his character for me. I preferred him just this hateable character. And Susie Glass was very compelling in the show. I liked her character. Probably my second favorite character after Edward. She's smart and cunning. She's calm even, and very confident as well. Even when sometimes Edward is freaking out or dealing with these really strong people, really dangerous people. Especially, and she always has this straight face. I liked what she did in the show. She has her weaknesses as well, so I liked her character. And there were so many characters who were making dumb decisions. Like, why And one more thing I wanted to mention, there were so many things going right, going so correct for Edward that it felt like, what is this plot armor this guy has? What? This guy has way too much plot armor. Like, there were certain moments that I wished they could have gotten into problems so that we can see, so that it can cause more drama, more conflict. That would have been much more engaging. But there were so many times which they just got out of trouble so easily. I wish that more of the plans from these characters would have failed so that we can see how these characters would react to more failure rather than the success of their plans. So the show really felt like dragging on because they were getting what they wanted. Edward was getting what he wanted. Hence, since it's like we felt watching them succeed, even the failures they had, they resolved it so quickly. That's another problem. We felt so much of the same thing again and again, and so to spice things up, a failure would have been nice, but then again they went by that same road and it became bland and dull and mundane after some time. Therefore, it felt like dragging out a lot. For the most part, really, he felt like he was really winning. So yeah, it felt like it was drawing out, and it got really boring because there wasn't much drama on conflict in the show at all. So that was a huge problem for me. Yeah, and sometimes certain characters feel contradictory to what we have seen of them before. Especially I won't spoil, but there was one scene with Edward that I felt quite contradictory to what we have seen him before. I won't spoil what it is, but it was just that one minor thing. It was a really minor issue. But other than that, this is a really... Okay, one more issue is the dialogue. The dialogue sometimes is great, sometimes it's not so great. Sometimes it's not so great because the dialogue was so long and drawn out. Like, they should have cut short the dialogue somewhere or shortened it, tidied up a bit, and then moved on to the next thing. That was a problem. The dialogue was such a huge problem in the show. Like, don't get me wrong, I like long dialogues, especially when they are good. Like, Quentin Tarantino knows how to make long dialogues and make them really good and engaging. Here, it is engaging for a certain period of time, and as the dialogue goes on, it gets less and less engaging. Like, it felt so unnecessary, some of the things they were saying. So it's like, just get to the point already, man. Get to the next scene. You guys are probably going to hate me for this. Go ahead and hate me in the comments, but this is just my opinion, and I just didn't like the show. It didn't work out for me at all. Then let's get to the good. As much as I really found a lot of things to not like about the show, I found a lot of great things in the show as well. Like, the concepts were great, the ideas were great. Guess what? Despite all the glaring issues, this show is a whole lot of fun on the superficial level. Susie's character, her brother, is in boxing, and I'm like, why didn't they show much of that? Like, because many of the laundering and the money laundering and money cleaning is all happening through boxing matches, and they're doing these dealings in boxing matches. It's like, why can't we spend more time there? I really like them. I really like those scenes. The dialogue, some of them were really short. I really like those dialogue. As I said, Susie and Edward's character are what I like. I like their relationship at the beginning of the show, where they're these business partners. Then they somehow hinted at some love interest between them, and it just got less compelling, the relationship they had, but still, it was still compelling till the end, and I really appreciated that. Really great stuff. I think the ideas and the concepts were great, just that they have to streamline the story a bit more to make it less jumbled up, less messy, and the story would have been much better. This show is rated very high, the age rating, so there was a lot of violence to go with it, and a lot of cool stuff as well. Like the action scenes, there were very few action scenes, but they were all pretty cool, especially the boxing match with Susie's sister. I really like those. The way the director directs them with the slow motion boxing, and then the spit coming out, the blood coming out of the mouth, that was really cool. Selling weeds, but they're doing it so that they won't get caught, so they're doing all this money laundering and all this complex stuff, and I really like those. But sometimes it just gets too complex and too jumbled up, but I really like to what extent they had. Also, give it up to the actors. They all brought their A games. The acting was clearly the best part of this show, honestly. And I didn't like the ending that much. I see what they were trying to go for. I really do see what they were trying to go for, but it didn't work out for me. Like, that portion was not developed very well. I feel that they could have developed on those stuff more. They could have developed on Edward's storyline, his character arc even more, and put lesser focus on the other unnecessary stuff. I felt that should have been what they should have been doing from the beginning. Put more focus on Edward's character arc. And other than that, this is a really great show. I really dug it. I didn't love it. I liked it, actually. I'm going to give this show a 7 out of 10. It's a solid show, just filled and fraught with so many problems. And that's all I have for this review. If you like this review, click the like button. If you want to see more, subscribe to my channel. I see you guys sometime. You guys are always the best.